Welcome everyone to Mail Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 7 Episode 13. It's called Homeward. So spoilers for the episode, as always. This one is about Worf's brother, or foster brother, depending what you want to say. He is like a researcher, scientist type guy who is on a world that is, not joined the Federation yet, still under the whole Prime Directive order. But there's something going wrong on the planet, the atmosphere is breaking down, violent storms, all that kind of thing, and he's sort of put out a beacon for help. The Enterprise arrives, and it kind of becomes this pickle of, to help these people in any way would be violating the Prime Directive, because technically they should die. And Worf's brother takes it upon himself to kind of break some rules, and it puts them in a predicament. Because one of the things that stuck out to me about this episode is that I thought that early on, there's like a really strong beat in the first act where the brother's basically pleading, hey, we have to do something, and Picard has to be the bad guy and says, I'm sorry, but no, that violates the Prime Directive. We have to let them go. And all of that stuff was, and obviously it's so early in the episode, I'm like, okay, clearly he's going to do something that's going to be the plot of the rest of the episode. But right now, this feels quite morose, and we're only like 5 minutes in. So that was an interesting start, but obviously we get into things which involves the holodeck, tricking a bunch of people, and we'll get into all of it as we go. But what did you think of Homeward?
I think it's not bad. It's got some good ideas. I like some of the things it does. I do have some quite peculiar issues as the episode goes on that I didn't anticipate having, but...
Peculiar, you say?
Yeah, some... I have mixed feelings about, like, Nikolai, and not in the way I think the episode intends me to have.
That's interesting. I like the episode. I think, for me, this was like, oh, this is the third pretty good one to great one in a row. I mean, I don't think this wasn't the best of the three. If anything, it's probably the weakest of the three overall, but I think we've had a nice little string here in the middle of the season of good episodes, and I think this one, it all comes down to not so much Nikolai as a character. I don't really feel anything strongly for him, like, or against. He serves his purpose in the plot. It's really more for me all the ramifications and the debating of what to do and what's the right thing and the wrong thing, like, across the entire episode that I like.
I agree with that. I think part of my problem is we've had this debate quite a few times over the course of the show already, and I don't think this... I think the way it tackles it is pretty novel, but I think the actual core debate that we end up having, I feel like we've had it a few times already. It's fine, but it's not particularly compelling in that sense for me.
I think there's just a couple of standout scenes where it really kind of, like, because of the situation he puts them in, which is, just to explain this, he effectively secretly beams up this one village. So most of the people on the planet still die because there's multiple villages, but there's one village that he's close to, and we find out he's really close to one of them in the village later on in the episode. But he has secretly beamed them up to the holodeck to mimic the caves that they were hiding in from the storms. So they don't know they've been transported anywhere. They think they're still on the planet. But they're in the holodeck, and that's kind of the big reveal that sets up the rest of the episode, is that we get all the sad stuff early on where it's very morose. Picard kind of stands up and makes a little, I wouldn't even call it a speech, he just kind of says, hey, this is the bad side of the Prime Directive and we all have to kind of live with this, and everyone's sort of got their heads hanging low. It's very sad, and I really like the vibe of all that, of like having to just let this happen. And them just watching the planet atmosphere change and clean up, and it calms down after, but it's killed any life that was there before. It's just what's happened. But once we set up this main plot, which is that they're in the holodeck, Nikolai, Worf's brother, has put them here, and there's, because part of me thought, oh, is this going to be a plot? And I wasn't necessarily against this, but I definitely thought there was pitfalls of doing this. I thought, oh, maybe the plot's going to be Worf struggling for half the episode whether or not to, like, tell Picard and everyone, and, like, will he help maintain the secret? I actually love that he just immediately go, like, we didn't even see it. We cut almost straight to Picard going, your career's over. Like, you've violated everything here. So I kind of appreciate that. And I also appreciate that early on when Worf's talking about his brother, he mentions that he tried to go to Starfleet Academy, but he could never quite, like, vibe with the structure and the discipline, and And honestly, if nothing else, Nikolai shows throughout this episode that he cannot respect the chain of command of Starfleet one iota. So, yeah,
No,
they
he's a
set
bit
it
of
up.
a free spirit, as they once said.
Yes. But once it gets into this, there's some things I like. I really like this idea of because of the storms, the holodeck is glitching, and it can be fixed quite easily, but it has to be turned off to be fixed, and they can't do that. They basically want to trick them into thinking they're in a cave system or walking through terrain to a new home in a different part of the planet, but what they're actually doing is flying to another planet, and a suitable planet that's empty, and saying, hey, you can go here, without them ever being aware that they've left or moved to somewhere else. And it's like, okay, that feels like a fairly logical idea, but Nikolai's already kind of broken some rules by like using deflector shields to kind of keep them safe, even though they don't know the deflector shields are there. Right? This is a very relatively primitive like group of people in the sense that they're very religious. They think that everything's kind of like prophecies and all that. When Worf goes down as an away team on his own, like basically his brother says, Worf is a seer. He can predict things, and all it really is happening is that Worf's getting told through his comms, oh yeah, this is about to happen, or this is going on, or whatever.
Yeah, I think, and they write all their history down in. I mean, they use the word a chronicle.
Yes,
which I think is very telling as to the time period, as to what they're aping these people from.
Yeah, so all of this is interesting, but I love the glitching of the holodeck and Worf trying to having to cover for that. Is quite
his
fun.
Improvising is very awkward, but they don't know any better, so it's like, so he gets away with it.
And I'll be honest, I got a good laugh of when he called this is a sign. It's a sign of LaForge. And then it cuts to Geordi actually like, manipulating the holodeck to do the next things.
I appreciate that though. He was like, using that as a way of getting his attention. Be like, hey, Geordi, pay attention. I need you to listen to what I'm about to say.
Yeah, I thought that was good fun. And my favorite scene of the episode by far, though, is when the one who keeps asking too many questions was like Varin?
Varin.
I don't know. But he's like sort of questioning some things earlier. Not that he's even... It's not even like he's trying to be a dick. He just doesn't understand what Worf's saying to him. It's a sort of thing where this is a good time to be a little ignorant, but like because we need you to be ignorant. But he's at least he's questioning things, and he wants to go find this chronicle chapter that he's dropped. So he goes to find it, and he sees a heavy glitch where like part of the ship's like wall and door kind of poking through the rocks, and he ends up going over and sticking his hand through, and it kind of breaks the illusion, and the door opens. And the sequence we get of him stumbling through parts of the Enterprise, and particularly in 10 Forward when he's scared and everyone's just kind of like not sure what to do. And hey, you know what? Troy's the perfect person to go over and talk to him because she can sense that he's scared. I mean, everyone can tell that he's scared.
You don't need to be an empath for that.
But, it makes sense that she'd be best to talk to him because she can sense if she's like...
I don't even think it's that. I think it's more, she is a counselor. She is trained to deal with people who are scared and stressed.
Oh, okay, that's a fair point. However, I will posit that she only get into that line of work because she can sense when she's helping someone because she can feel their feelings.
This is just semantics at this point.
It's not semantics. She's basically cheating. This is like someone who is a native French speaker, comes to the UK and takes French class. Oh, they got straight A's. What a shock!
It's not the same as that at all.
It's like 90% the same.
No. It's like, I'm trying to think of two languages that really work to work my point here, but I can't quite get one. It's like an Italian speaker taking a Latin class. It's closer. There's a little leg up.
Okay.
Yeah, because she doesn't just get everything. Like, she doesn't know all the answers. She doesn't know what to say. It's not like she can just ace everything because she can feel what they're feeling.
It's a big advantage, though.
Yeah, so is, I assume, knowing Italian if you want to learn Latin. I don't know. I assume.
Well, all I'm saying is she's the best person for the job. Okay, there's another comparison. It's like one doctor has to do everything just by eyes, the other one's got an x-ray machine. They both have to have medical expertise, sure, but one of them can see what's wrong.
Yeah, but... when you're just looking to see if my thumb's broken or not, you probably don't need the x-ray machine. You can probably see it's hanging at a funny angle. And most people can see that with this guy.
I don't know. It could just be a species. You don't know. They could just always be scared.
I could always be scared. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But I really like this scene. I like the genuine fear, and because I don't think it ever painted him as like someone who could become the danger in the scene. It always felt like he was the scared one, and it was up to everyone else to try and make him feel comfortable, to calm him down and try and explain this. And I think all of this stuff and everything that comes from this plot is kind of like, while there's obviously some valid arguments as to what Nikolai did, right, and cheating the system, getting these people on the holodeck, taking them to a new land, and Worf even admits it at the end. He's like, hey, like, I wouldn't have done anything you did, but these people are only here and alive because you did this. So that's a positive. However, absolutely every sort of like bit of turmoil they face on the way here, and particularly everything with Vorin, is a sign of why they were not to interfere. It's why the Prime Directive exists, because not only are they not ready for this, because Vorin himself even says it, because Picard, this is the other thing I liked about it, is that when Nikolai and Worf are talking about it and they've found out that this has happened, Nikolai's like, wait, is he not going to be allowed to come back here? And Worf's like, no, of course he is. He's not a prisoner, but he basically now has the right to choose if he tells everyone else what he's seen. And what does that do? And then that falls onto a scene where Picard goes to see Vorin and just tries to like talk to him and says, hey, if you decide what you want to do. And he's basically at this weird place where he's like, either I go back because I don't want to not be with my people. However, I'll have to tell them because I can't live with this lie. And Picard points out they might think you're insane. They might think you've been hallucinating and treat you that way. And he says, I can't live with the lie. I can't live with this knowledge. And Picard says, well, stay with us then and make a new life for yourself here. And one of the things that Vorin points out is that like the reason why it would be a disaster is because of what this people's beliefs are right now as to how, like, what life is, where they come from. The idea that there's other planets with life on them is too much to take. Never mind how advanced all of this is. And he just is desolate. And to be honest, I did not see the end of this plotline coming. When they cut to his room and Crusher's just putting the blanket over him and he's like killed himself in some sort of ritual way, and Picard just has to sort of stand there and wrestle with this and wish that he knew him better, I was like, yeah, this is on Nikolai. Nikolai did this to this kid. Like, he did.
He absolutely did. I guess his counter argument will still be, well, I saved everyone else, right? And it's better than none.
Yeah, and that's a valid argument for sure. But that's what makes this so interesting. It's so messy with the, there's no complete right and wrong here, I don't think. So I like these scenes. I think these scenes with Vorin, because I think the first half of the episode where Vorin's just questioning things, I'm like, oh, this character's an annoying little shit. But as soon as he like finds that door, everything with him from the rest of the episode is, I think, probably the most interesting and
I think it's easily the best stuff in the rest of the episode. Yeah.
Yeah, because having Picard just have to kind of accept that this has happened, and because Crusher even says to him like, hey, like, are you saying you regret us helping these people? And Picard's like, well, no, of course not. Like, they're alive, they're going to give a chance now. Like, there's no way I can feel bad that we've got them to this point, even though every step along the way it was a rule-breaking thing. And obviously Picard was pissed about it. Like, once this all gets set up, he's like, well, I've got no choice now. What am I going to do? Just shove them out the airlock? Of course we have to try and find them a new home. But this isn't the way it's supposed to happen, and there's reasons for that. So, yeah. I think those harder-hitting moments, I think, landed for me. Nikolai having knocked up one of the villagers, I mean, it raises some weird questions about, even though he's like altered his face to look like one of them, I'm pretty sure his seed is still going to be human. So yeah, but I can overlook that. Like, just tell me they're close enough, like a bunch of other species. Well, that's not even what I'm saying. Like, I'm assuming either can mate. Like, I'm assuming that it'll, create offspring.
You're just saying when the kid comes out.
It's like, wait. I mean, sure. The kid might take more after the mother, and no one will be the wiser. But it could be a little, bit more mixed, and maybe they'll go, wait, what? And I know he'll do it. He'll just say, "Oh, we're on a new part of the planet. The surroundings are affecting our offspring. We're all going to change over generations because of this." And in actuality, what he's done is he's put a bit of human DNA into the system, and that's going to change them over time. Because then this kid's going to have kids, and so on, so on. So
yeah,
whole thing.
No, I get that. I hated this part of the episode though. This
Sure.
is the bit where it lost me when it, like, because it changed him from being idealistic, right? Because that was not the whole time of this episode up to this point. He's idealistic. This is what he couldn't go to Starfleet because he couldn't get behind all the rules, but he wants to help. He wants to. That's his whole thing. He wants to save these people. He wants to do what he can, and you're kind of on his side despite everything, right? And then it gets to here, and all of a sudden it feels like, well, I just want to save my kid. It has this undercurrent of becoming quite selfish despite everything, and I think it's supposed to be like, oh, look at this. There's more layers to this, but I think it just undermines, for me, what it was doing with him up to that point.
I can see that. I don't think it bothers me as much. I think my read on it, while I agree that it kind of makes it feel a little more selfish because he's got like a personal stake in this now, I think the intent and the way that you can read it is that it's more that he cared about these people so much that he became one of them. He fell in love with one, and he ended up being a part of them, and that's why he cares so much now.
I agree, and I think that's why I said it's not the episode's intention that I feel this way earlier about Nikolai, but I can't overlook it. It kind of just undermined a lot of his character for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I just didn't need this part. Like, I didn't need this extra layer that, oh, he's got someone pregnant. Because when that woman, turns out to be his girlfriend, wife, I don't know what they've done, but like when she comes up to Worf because she sees Worf and him arguing, and she tries to say, hey, can you go speak to your brother, make amends with him. Worf is, he's frustrated and whatever, but like I was like, okay, this is interesting that someone from the village is speaking up for him. Maybe we'll see how he's had an effect in them, and like they really respect him. And she talks about how he's always been so confident, and we've never seen him like this. But when it took that turn and she's like, oh, I'm pregnant with his child, I want you to, think of me as your sister kind of thing. I was like, okay, I don't know if it felt like it was adding an extra layer onto what was happening that wasn't necessary, because the compelling like idea here of like Worf learning to understand why his brother cares about saving these people, I think was interesting, like you said, for a more ideological point of view than necessarily because he's got a... Now, don't get me wrong, like, he's going to stay with these people at the end of the episode. If they hadn't done this, I think we'd assume that, oh, in time he probably will end up falling for one of them and having a child because he's living with them now. Like, this is his life now.
Yeah, but that's different, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it is. But I would just say it's unneeded rather than it upsets me. But I get what you're saying about it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's the intention of the episode to make me feel the way I did about it. But yeah, it kind of just muddied things in a way I really didn't like, and took away from that side of the plot towards that back half for me, which is a shame because kind of important half of the episode. Oh,
sure. Yeah. So one thing we've not even mentioned yet is Worf to blend in with the people, because they don't know about Klingons, so he has to get altered to look like one of them. We basically get to see Michael Dorn just look like Michael Dorn. I mean, obviously there's like a little nose wrinkle, but otherwise it's just him. So it was actually quite interesting seeing him doing the full-on Worf voice and like performing as Worf, but looking pretty human. Now, I want to say this has happened at least once before. I think it has, but it's been a while, so I don't remember it too well.
It sounds familiar, but like, there's a lot of things in this episode that feel like really familiar to me. I don't know if it's... I don't know if it's this show or it's maybe later Trek from stuff that we've seen. Like, the idea of someone not necessarily skipping the holodeck, but like discovering the truth of the Prime Directive, and then being like that like being scared. Like that feels really familiar. Like,
yeah, I mean, it definitely helped me Moriarty in a way. Although I was less scared.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. But yeah, it did feel fresh enough to me in this episode that I didn't think we were retreading. Like when that scene started happening, it felt fresh to me.
That's fair. I think for me, it was deja vu, but not enough to like call it out and be annoyed by it. Like, but it was just in the back of my head. Like, as I was watching, I was like, I feel like I've seen this beat already, and it still felt like it was, especially that moment was done well enough in the moment that I wasn't like, oh, this is ruining it. It was just, I was vaguely aware in the back of my head.
Yeah. Another little detail I liked was just Worf, because he was so uncomfortable with what his brother had done. when he's told to go back into the holodeck because Picard doesn't trust Nikolai to, like, do everything he's supposed to. He wants Worf in there, and Worf requests for it to be someone else. And Picard says, no, they've already seen you, they know you, so it should be you. But I do kind of like the idea of Worf actually trying to throw up his hands and saying, hey, this is my brother, I think I'm too close to this. Could I please not be the one? In the same way that, like a detective shouldn't investigate their own, like, loved one's murder kind of thing. Like, he's like, no, I'm too close to this guy, I need to step away. But they've already seen you, prime directive, go in. So
I think the argument's too sound not to, in that they say you've already seen him. They've got they already trust Nikolai, and Nikolai has vouched for Worf with hey, that's my brother. Like, he's a seer. Like, there's too much backstory already to throw that away and try and introduce someone new and make them more suspicious.
Yeah, the logic is completely sound and why they have to send in Worf. But I did like that Worf tries to back out, because it made sense that he wouldn't want to go back in there and be the one responsible for what his brother's doing.
There's a lot of things Worf doesn't want to do, but he does them anyway.
That's true. Worf spends a lot of time not wanting to do things. So yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Actually, something I wanted to mention this last episode, I don't think I did, is that the ensign, or the low-ranking officer who's on the helm right now, I didn't recognize her because she's so young here compared to what I know her from. But it's actually, the actress's name is Penny Johnson Gerald, but she is the first lady in 24 for anyone who's watched that. So, and the reason why I even noticed is because her photo on IMDb is of her, in like the 2000s or the 2010s. So I'm like, oh, I know that face. So I don't know. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, makes sense.
So. But yeah, that's the episode. I think it was a pretty solid one, and I would say it kind of rounds out a little trio of good episodes. So the weakest of the three for sure, but like there's still enough interesting things in here that I'm like, given how I felt about the previous half dozen episodes, I'm feeling quite happy.
Yeah, I think it's like, I'm not as hot on it as you are. Not that you're like amazing on it, not so sad, but I think for me, it's still a noticeable step up above most of the season.
Yes.
But I also think it's a noticeable step down from the last couple episodes as well.
That's fair. Well, brace yourself for the next one.
Great. It's just what I want to hear.
Is this the lowest rated one of the entire show? It might be.
Oh my God.
I feel like there must be, come on, that racist one from like 3 episodes out of season 1 must be
That
worse.
must be horrifically low.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to go back and check the rating of that. But anyway, so Deep Space Nine will be next though on the reviews. We'll be back to alternating between them following the original release schedule. But when we come back to the Next Generation, the episode is called Sub Rosa, and here's the description on IMDb. Oh God.
Oh, I'm so scared.
You know how like one of the signs that there's maybe a bad episode is when one of the female characters has a romance?
Oh yeah.
This is the first part of this description. Dr. Crusher meets the man in her dead grandmother's life. Wait, what? Dr. Crusher meets the man in her dead grandmother's life when she tries to put her affairs in order. Okay, so her grandmother's died and she meets who she was dating. Okay, I understand now.
Yeah. Right. Well, unless there's a big twist here covered.
No, I
also starts dating him.
No, I just read Dr. Crusher meets the man, and I thought I just my alarm bells went off.
Yeah.
She should stay away from men. It's just it always ends badly for us anyway. So one of the local people warned her to stay away from by not lighting a candle that has been lit for generations.
What?
I want to read that again. Let's see if we can make more sense of it. Dr. Crusher meets the man in her dead grandmother's life when she tries to put her affairs in order, whom one of the local people warn her to stay away from by not lighting a candle that has been lit for generations. So I think they're saying stay away from the man. I don't know exactly.
What's the bit about the candle?
Yeah, I don't understand how the candle thing links up with it.
I hope it makes more sense when we watch it.
I don't know, the rating on IMDb makes me think it might not make more sense.
That's why I said hope. It's not a very confident hope.
Oh dear. Hey, we got Deep Space Nine first. That's
oh, thank God.
I'm clinging to that at the very least. We got Deep Space Nine first. So
you watch, so throw out the worst episode of the season now just to spite us.
All right, that's our thoughts on this TNG episode. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. And of course, you can support all the content over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and help keep all the reviews coming. MailFuzz Movies is the other YouTube channel with all the movie podcasts, including the sci-fi movie podcast, if that sounds up your alley. So go and have a look over there. And all those podcasts are also available via, your podcast apps and whatnot. So once you know if you like any of them, you can go check them out that way too. But that is the show. Thank you very much for joining. We do appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek. And somewhere out there, Wesley Crusher is actively killing people on planets.